Alright, so today I'm going to do an overview of the story of Joseph. It's the last 14 chapters of Genesis, chapters 37 through 50. Romans 15:4 tells us that for whatever was written in earlier times was written for our instruction, that through perseverance and the encouragement of the scriptures we might have hope. Genesis 37:2 tells us Joseph was 17. Then in verses 4, 5, and 8 of that chapter, it says his brothers hated him. And in verse 11, that they were jealous of him. And I find verse 15 interesting. It says, and a man found him. Behold, he was wandering in the field. And the man asked him, what are you looking for? Doesn't say it, but I believe this is a theophany, Christophany. I believe this is Jesus pointing him there. Because in Psalms 105, 16 through 22, it says, and he, God, called for a famine upon the land. He broke the whole staff of bread. He sent a man before them, Joseph, who was sold as a slave. They afflicted his feet with fetters. He himself was laid in irons. Until the time that his word came to pass, the word of the Lord tested him. The king sent and released him, the ruler of the peoples, and set him free. He made him lord of his house and ruler over all his possessions, to imprison his princes at will, that he might teach his elders wisdom. Then we see in 16 and 17, the man tells them where his brothers are. He points them, knowing that his brothers are waiting to kill him. They see him from afar off. They have murder in their heart. They want to throw him in a pit. And in Matthew 10:16, Jesus says, I seen you as sheep among wolves, so be wise as serpents and harmless as doves. And speaking of Paul in Acts 9:16, it said, God says, for I'll make clear to him how much he will suffer for my name's sake. Then we see that his brother stripped him of his tunic. Reminds me of Dr. Tony Evans. He made a sermon about this. He goes, sometimes that God takes something close and sentimental from you, and then they throw him in a pit where there's no water, just in a dry place where nothing's happening, nothing's growing, So he sold to Potiphar. But in Genesis 39:2, it says the Lord was with Joseph, so he became a successful man, even though the Lord was with him. And on the daily, Potiphar's wife, his heifer, wanted to sleep with him every day, and he had to deal with that every day. But then in Genesis 39:21, it says that the Lord was with Joseph and extended kindness to him. So even in the midst of our suffering and trials, sometimes it's hard to see that kindness that God's given us, even though it's there. In 23 again, it says he was successful because the Lord was with him, and whatever Joseph did, the Lord made to prosper. Then in Genesis 40, he notices the two prisoners in there that the Pharaoh put in there, the baker and the cupbearer, and he asked them why they're sad, right? He ain't even supposed to be there. Well, he was set up. In 40:23, it says, yet the chief cupbearer did not remember Joseph after he interpreted his dreams. And that's another characteristic of being a Christian, is you have compassion on others, and he used his gift. Just think if he wouldn't have done that, because 2 years later is when Joseph got to go before Pharaoh and interpret the Pharaoh's dreams. And in my overview of this real quick summary, healing takes time. In 37:4 of Genesis, it says that his brothers hated him multiple times, right? But in 45:14 and 15, later on, it says that Joseph fell on his brother Benjamin's neck and wept, and Benjamin wept on his neck, and he kissed all his brothers and wept on them, and afterwards his brothers talked with him. Before, they couldn't even talk with him peaceably, is what it said. So sometimes years have to go by before you see your family, before things are made smooth. And then he gave Joseph two children. Manasseh, he named him Manasseh because God has made me forget all my trouble in my father's household. And Ephraim, God has made me fruitful in the land of my affliction. And then we see the cupbearers restored. And so Joseph had already been there maybe 7, 8, 9 years or whatever, and he still had another 2 years to go. And this guy comes in, he interprets his dream, and he gets restored. And sometimes I can relate to that, because maybe you've been going through something for a long time. Somebody else comes in and they get restored right away, and you're still waiting, wondering if God forgot you, but he hasn't. It's just in his timing. Because then in 50:20, we see that what he tells his brothers, what you meant for evil, God meant for good. Like it says in Romans 8:28, all things work together for good to them that love God and are called according to his purpose. So just take heart that no matter where you are, God is aware of all of it, and He's going to bless it. He'll bless your obedience, and there is a purpose in the pain. Y'all have a good day.